Barbados. Barbados is an island country in the Lesser Antilles of the West Indies, in the Caribbean region of North America. It is 34 kilometers (21 miles) in length and up to 23 kilometers (14 miles) in width, covering an area of 432 square kilometers (167 square miles). It is situated in the western area of the North Atlantic and 100 kilometers (62 miles) east of the Windward Islands and the Caribbean Sea. Therein, Barbados is east of the Windwards, part of the Lesser Antilles, roughly at 13 degrees north of the equator. It is about 168 kilometers (104 miles) east of both the countries of St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines and 180 kilometers (110 miles) southeast of Martinique and 400 kilometers (250 miles) northeast of Trinidad and Tobago. Barbados is outside the principal Atlantic hurricane belt. Its capital and largest city are Bridgetown. Inhabited by Kalinago people since the 13th century, and prior to that by other Amerindians, Barbados was visited by Spanish navigators in the late 15th century and claimed for the Spanish crown. It first appeared on a Spanish map in 1511. The Portuguese Empire claimed the island between 1532 and 1536, but later abandoned it in 1620, with their only remnants being an introduction of wild boars for a good supply of meat whenever the island was visited, and to replenish their water supply. An English ship, the Olive Blossom, arrived in Barbados on the 14th of May 1625. Its men took possession of it in the name of King James I in 1627. The first permanent settlers arrived from England, and it became an English and later British colony. As a wealthy sugar colony, it became an English center of the African slave trade until that trade was outlawed in 1807, with final emancipation of slaves in Barbados occurring over a period of years from 1833. On the 30th of November 1966, Barbados became an independent state and Commonwealth realm with Elizabeth II as its queen. It has a population of 287,010 people, predominantly of African descent. Despite being classified as an Atlantic island, Barbados is considered to be a part of the Caribbean, where it is ranked as a leading tourist destination. Of the tourists, 40% come from the UK, with the US and Canada making up the next large groups of visitors to the island. Etymology of Barbados. The name, Barbados, is from either the Portuguese term Os Barbados or the Spanish equivalent, Los Barbados, both meaning the bearded ones. It is unclear whether bearded refers to the long, hanging roots of the bearded fig tree, Ficus citrifolia, indigenous to the island, or to the allegedly bearded Caribs who once inhabited the island, or, more fancifully, to a visual impression of a beard formed by the sea foam that sprays over the outlying reefs. In 1519, a map produced by the Genoese mapmaker Visconti Maggiolo showed and named Barbados in its correct position. Furthermore, the island of Barbuda in the Leewards is very similar in name and was once named Las Barbudas by the Spanish. The original name for Barbados in the pre-Columbian era was Echeroganium, according to accounts by descendants of the indigenous Arawakan-speaking tribes in other regional areas, with possible translations including Red Land with White Teeth, or Redstone Island with Teeth outside reefs, or simply Teeth. Colloquially, Barbadians refer to their home island as Bim or other nicknames associated with Barbados, including Bimshire. The origin is uncertain, but several theories exist. The National Cultural Foundation of Barbados says that Bim was a word commonly used by slaves and that it derives from the Igbo term Bem from Bemu meaning my home, kindred, kind, the Igbo phoneme in the Igbo orthography. The name could have arisen due to the relatively large percentage of enslaved Igbo people from modern-day southeastern Nigeria arriving in Barbados in the 18th century. The words Bim and Bimshire are recorded in the Oxford English Dictionary and Chambers 20th century dictionaries. Another possible source for Bim is reported to be in the Agricultural Reporter of the 25th of April 1868, where the Rev. N. Greenwich, father of one of the island's most famous scholars, Abel Hendy Jones Greenwich, suggested the listing of Bimshire as a county of England. Expressly named were Wiltshire, Hampshire, Berkshire and Bimshire. Lastly, in the Daily Argosy of Demerara, i.e. Guyana, of 1652, there is a reference to Bim as a possible corruption of Byam, the name of a royalist leader against the parliamentarians. That source suggested the followers of Byam became known as Bims, and that this became a word for all Barbadians. History of Barbados. Archaeological evidence suggests humans may have first settled or visited the island circa 1600 BC. More permanent Amerindian settlement of Barbados dates to about the 4th to 7th centuries AD, by a group known as the Saladoid Barancoid. The two main groups were the Arawaks from South America, who became dominant around 800–1200 AD, and the more warlike the Kalinago Island Caribs, who arrived from South America in the 12th–13th centuries. It is uncertain which European nation arrived first in Barbados, which most likely would have been at some point in the 15th century or 16th century. One lesser-known source points to earlier revealed works predating contemporary sources indicating it could have been the Spanish. Many, if not most, believe the Portuguese, en route to Brazil, were the first Europeans to come upon the island. The island was largely ignored by Europeans, though Spanish slave raiding is thought to have reduced the native population, with many fleeing to other islands. Effects of English Civil War in Barbados. Around the same time, fighting during the War of the Three Kingdoms and the Interregnum spilt over into Barbados and Barbadian territorial waters. The island was not involved in the war until after the execution of Charles I, when the island's government fell under the control of royalists, ironically the governor, Philip Bell, remaining loyal to Parliament, while the Barbadian House of Assembly, under the influence of Humphrey Walrond, supported Charles II. To try to bring the recalcitrant colony to heel, the Commonwealth Parliament passed an act on 3 October 1650 prohibiting trade between England and Barbados, and because the island also traded with the Netherlands, further navigation acts were passed prohibiting any but English vessels trading with Dutch colonies. These acts were a precursor to the First Anglo-Dutch War. The Commonwealth of England sent an invasion force under the command of Sir George Ayscue, which arrived in October 1651. After some skirmishing, the Royalists in the House of Assembly led by Lord Willoughby surrendered. The conditions of the surrender were incorporated into the Charter of Barbados, Treaty of Oistins, which was signed at the Mermaids Inn, Oistins, on 17 January 1652. Geography and climate of Barbados. Barbados is situated in the Atlantic Ocean, east of the other West Indies islands. Barbados is the easternmost island in the Lesser Antilles. It is flat in comparison to its island neighbors to the west, the Windward Islands. The island rises gently to the central highland region known as Scotland District, with the high point of the nation being Mount Hillaby 340 metres 1,120 feet above sea level. In the parish of St. Michael lies Barbados's capital and main city, Bridgetown, containing 1/3 of the country's population. Other major towns scattered across the island include Holetown, in the parish of St. James, Oistins, in the parish of Christchurch, and Speightstown, in the parish of St. Peter. Geology of Barbados. Barbados lies on the boundary of the South American and the Caribbean plates. The subduction of the South American plate beneath the Caribbean plate scrapes sediment from the South American plate and deposits it above the subduction zone, forming an accretionary prism. The rate of this depositing of the material allows Barbados to rise at a rate of about 25 mm, 1 in, per 1,000 years. This subduction means geologically the island is composed of coral roughly 90 meters 300 feet thick, where reefs formed above the sediment. The land slopes in a series of terraces in the west and goes into an incline in the east. A large proportion of the island is circled by coral reefs. The erosion of limestone in the northeast of the island, in the Scotland District, has resulted in the formation of various caves and gullies. On the Atlantic east coast of the island, coastal landforms, including stacks, have been created due to the limestone composition of the area. Also notable in the island is the rocky cape known as Pico Tenerife or Pico de Tenerife, which is named after the fact that the island of Tenerife in Spain is the first land east of Barbados according to the belief of the locals. Climate in Barbados. The country generally experiences two seasons, one of which includes noticeably higher rainfall. Known as the wet season, this period runs from June to December. By contrast, the dry season runs from December to May. Annual precipitation ranges between 1,000 and 2,300 mm 40 and 90 in. From December to May the average temperatures range from 21 to 31 degrees Celsius (70 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit), while between June and November, they range from 23 to 31 degrees Celsius (73 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit). On the Köppen climate classification scale, much of Barbados is regarded as a tropical monsoon climate (AM). However, breezes of 12 to 16 km per hour, 7 to 10 miles per hour, abound throughout the year and give Barbados a climate which is moderately tropical. Infrequent natural hazards include earthquakes, landslips, and hurricanes. Barbados is often spared the worst effects of the region's tropical storms and hurricanes during the rainy season. Its location in the southeast of the Caribbean region puts the country just outside the principal hurricane strike zone. On average, a major hurricane strikes about once every 26 years. The last significant hit from a hurricane to cause severe damage to Barbados was Hurricane Janet in 1955. In 2010 the island was struck by Hurricane Tomas, but this caused only minor damage across the country as it was only a tropical storm level of formation. Environmental issues in Barbados. Barbados is susceptible to environmental pressures. As one of the world's most densely populated isles, the government worked during the 1990s to aggressively integrate the growing south coast of the island into the Bridgetown sewage treatment plant to reduce contamination of offshore coral reefs. As of the first decade of the 21st century, a second treatment plant has been proposed along the island's west coast. Being so densely populated, Barbados has made great efforts to protect its underground aquifers. As a coral limestone island, Barbados is highly permeable to seepage of surface water into the earth. The government has placed great emphasis on protecting the catchment areas that lead directly into the huge network of underground aquifers and streams. On occasion, illegal squatters have breached these areas, and the government has removed squatters to preserve the cleanliness of the underground springs which provide the island's drinking water. The government has placed a huge emphasis on keeping Barbados clean with the aim of protecting the environment and preserving offshore coral reefs which surround the island. Many initiatives to mitigate human pressures on the coastal regions of Barbados and seas come from the Coastal Zone Management Unit (CMU). Barbados has nearly 90 kilometers (56 miles) of coral reefs just offshore, and 2 protected marine parks have been established off the west coast. Overfishing is another threat which faces Barbados. Although on the opposite side of the Atlantic, and some 4,800 kilometers (3,000 miles) west of Africa, Barbados is one of many places in the American continent that experience heightened levels of mineral dust from the Sahara Desert. Some particularly intense dust episodes have been blamed partly for the impacts on the health of coral reefs surrounding Barbados or asthmatic episodes, but evidence has not wholly supported the former such claim. Languages in Barbados. English is the official language of Barbados and is used for communications, administration, and public services all over the island. In its capacity as the official language of the country, the standard of English tends to conform to the vocabulary, pronunciations, spellings, and conventions akin to, but not exactly the same as, those of British English. An English-based Creole language, referred to locally as Bajan, is spoken by most Barbadians in everyday life, especially in informal settings. In its full-fledged form, Bajan sounds markedly different from the standard English heard on the island. The degree of intelligibility between Bajan and General English, for the General English speaker, depends on the level of creolized vocabulary and idioms. A Bajan speaker may be completely unintelligible to an English speaker from another country. Education systems in Barbados. The Barbados literacy rate is ranked close to 100%. The mainstream public education system of Barbados is fashioned after the British model. The government of Barbados spends 6.7% of its GDP on education 2008. All young people in the country must attend school until age 16. Barbados has over 70 primary schools and over 20 secondary schools throughout the island. There is a number of private schools, including Montessori and the International Baccalaureate. Student enrollment at these schools represents less than 5% of the total enrollment of the public schools. Certificate, diploma and degree-level education in the country is provided by the Barbados Community College, the Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute of Technology, Codrington College, and the Cave Hill Campus and Open Campus of the University of the West Indies. Barbados is also home to several overseas medical schools, such as Ross University School of Medicine and the American University of Integrative Sciences, School of Medicine. Government and politics. Barbados has been an independent country since the 30th of November 1966. It functions as a constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy modeled on the British Westminster system. The Queen of Barbados, Elizabeth II, is head of state and is represented locally by the Governor-General of Barbados, presently Sandra Mason. Both are advised on matters of the Barbadian state by the Prime Minister of Barbados, who is head of government. There are 30 representatives within the House of Assembly. The Constitution of Barbados is the supreme law of the nation. The Attorney General heads the independent judiciary. New acts are passed by the Barbadian Parliament and require royal assent by the Governor-General to become law. During the 1990s, at the suggestion of Trinidad and Tobago's Patrick Manning, Barbados attempted a political union with Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana. The project stalled after the then Prime Minister of Barbados, Lloyd Erskine Sandiford, became ill and his Democratic Labour Party lost the next general election. Barbados continues to share close ties with Trinidad and Tobago and with Guyana, claiming the highest number of Guyanese immigrants after the United States, Canada and the United Kingdom. Military in Barbados. The Barbados Defence Force has roughly 600 members. Within it, 12 to 18-year-olds make up the Barbados Cadet Corps. The defense preparations of the island nation are closely tied to defense treaties with the United Kingdom, the United States, and the People's Republic of China. The Royal Barbados Police Force is the sole law enforcement agency on the island of Barbados. Culture in Barbados. The culture of Barbados is a blend of West African, Portuguese, Creole, Indian and British cultures present in Barbados. Citizens are officially called Barbadians. The term, Bajan, pronounced Bajun, may have come from a localized pronunciation of the word Barbadian, which at times can sound more like Bar Bajan, or, more likely, from English Bay, Bailing, Portuguese Baiano. The largest carnival-like cultural event that takes place on the island is the Crop Over Festival, which was established in 1974. As in many other Caribbean and Latin American countries, Crop Over is an important event for many people on the island, as well as the thousands of tourists that flock to there to participate in the annual events. The festival includes musical competitions and other traditional activities and features the majority of the island's homegrown calypso and soca music for the year. The male and female Barbadians who harvested the most sugarcane are crowned as the king and queen of the crop. Crop Over gets underway at the beginning of July and ends with the costumed parade on Kadooment Day, held on the first Monday of August. New calypso, soca music is usually released and played more frequently from the beginning of May to coincide with the start of the festival. Sports in Barbados. As in other Caribbean countries of British colonial heritage, cricket is very popular on the island. The West Indies cricket team usually includes several Barbadian players. In addition to several warm-up matches and 6 Super 8 matches, the country hosted the final of the 2007 Cricket World Cup. Barbados has produced many great cricketers including Sir Garfield Sobers, Sir Frank Worrell, Sir Clyde Walcott, Sir Everton Weekes, Gordon Greenidge, Wes Hall, Charlie Griffith, Joel Garner, Desmond Haynes and Malcolm Marshall. Rugby is also popular in Barbados. Horse racing takes place at the historic Garrison Savannah close to Bridgetown. Spectators can pay for admission to the stands, or else can watch races from the public rail, which encompasses the track. Basketball is an increasingly popular sport, played at school or college. Barbados's national team has shown some unexpected results as in the past it beat many much larger countries. Polo is very popular amongst the rich elite on the island and the High Goal Apes Hill team is based at the St. James's Club. It is also played at the private Holders Festival Ground. In golf, the Barbados Open played at Royal Westmoreland Golf Club was an annual stop on the European Seniors Tour from 2000 to 2009. In December 2006, the WGC World Cup took place at the country's Sandy Lane Resort on the Country Club course, an 18-hole course designed by Tom Fazio. The Barbados Golf Club is another course on the island. It has hosted the Barbados Open on several occasions. Volleyball is also popular and is mainly played indoors. Tennis is gaining popularity and Barbados is home to Darian King, currently ranked 270th in the world and is the second highest ranked player in the Caribbean. Motorsports also play a role, with Rally Barbados occurring each summer and being listed on the FIA NACAM calendar. Also, the Bushy Park Circuit hosted the Race of Champions and Global Rally Cross Championship in 2014. The presence of the trade winds along with favorable swells make the southern tip of the island an ideal location for wave sailing, an extreme form of the sport of windsurfing. Netball is also popular with women in Barbados. Barbadian team the Flyin' Fish as the 2009 Segway Polo World Champions. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, click on like button. If you want to watch more videos like this, click on the subscription button below, it's free subscription.